Hey, what's up, family? This is Mia, and welcome to my humble abode. My Ever Bohemian Home is a space where we focus on simple living, sustainability, and living with intention. So, if you are interested in tuning more into your creative space, getting more in touch with your higher self, and becoming your best self, this is the best place to grow. Now, in my last video, I shared with you the 6 lessons that I learned about home health and healing. And today I wanted to take that reflection a step further. So, since then, I have created something called a lifestyle change structure, which is a framework that I've been implementing to help me go from surviving to living and actually enjoying life. So, in this video, I'm going to share with you my process as I'm entering into my Earth Girl era and 5 ways that I'm creating a lifestyle of intention. So, real quick, before we get started and I touch on my agenda, I wanted to, first of all, thank those that has helped or has liked my previous video that I uploaded in regards to transformative learning. I actually had to submit that for an assignment because I'm on my second to last assignment in my master's program for education and innovation. So that was one of our final projects for that class. And I really appreciate that about 7 or 8 of you guys really liked it. For those that did not check it out, please check it out and provide your input. I don't know. But I ended up getting an A on that assignment. So thumbs up. I'm very happy about that. But to those that went ahead and watched it and supported it by hitting a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. So now let's go ahead and get into the agenda. So, in this video, we're going to touch on about 8 areas. We're going to talk about my needs in regards to health, freedom, and peace. I am not going to go real deep into what I've been through. I believe I have enough video footage that explains that. If you have not seen that, I'm going to enter that into the description below and probably a link above. I'm going to talk about me entering into my Earth Girl era. That's something my daughter has pretty much helped me define what I'm going through. And I'm going to touch on the realization, which was my place for Forest Park when I did my nature walk, why structure equals freedom, the 5 pillars, how systems are to me are more important than goals, what I'm practicing now, and closing and reflection. So let's start with my needs were calling me back to myself. So the truth is, I needed to change, right? And I was carrying a lot. And it was causing my health to be at risk. And if I didn't check in and realize it when I did, I could have just really put myself in a bad place for me and my family. So I am very happy that I acknowledged that, right? But that situation occurred was one of the big things that called me back to myself. I had to really start taking it more seriously by implementing a structure and goals and systems that can help me become my best self. So I had to do things like reclaim freedom and a peace of mind. I had to re-establish what a safe space felt like, because honestly, I was giving everyone else safe spaces, right? But I wasn't creating one for myself at work. When I got to work, I was so focused on providing it for everyone else that I was putting myself at risk, and I didn't realize that at the time. I also needed to redefine productivity versus overextension. So, for about most of my management career, as I mentioned in my transformative learning presentation, I did a lot of overexertion, or overextension, but I thought it equated to productivity, but it didn't. Also, my emotions were running the show, and I was also starting to think very negatively. So All this coming together really put me in a place where I had to sit on my butt and really humble myself because I honestly felt like I can handle it. But my body was telling me, my mind and spirit was telling me, keep playing with us. We gonna show you who run the show. So my needs were calling me back to myself. So I had to pay attention and get it together quick. So next I want to talk about structure, right? Because you're probably thinking like, on one hand, we talk about freedom, creativity, where she needs to be. What does structure have to do with that? And it has to do with a lot. So I read an article the other day on Fast Company that was called The Productivity Paradox: How Structure Creates Freedom. And it talked about how structure isn't about control. It's about creating what they call intentional action. And it's really a balance between structure and freedom, which creates this intentional action, but it also stimulates creativity. Intentional action requires many things, such as balance, establishing clear boundaries, prioritize your reflection and learning, embracing technology mindfully, organizing communication, and time blocking for balance. I was guilty of not doing a lot of those, right? Or being very finicky up and down with doing that. So because my body has brought me back to myself, I have been very mindful and aware of being proactive when it comes to intentional action. So these are key things that I feel both areas should contribute to, or you should use in order to create this next step. So now I'm in my Earth Girl era, right? And this season is about becoming one with nature, trusting simplicity, and really honoring my cycle of rest and renewal, along with being self-sufficient and just living my best life. So you're probably wondering, what is the Earth Girl era? Because I hear people say that you're going to walk around eating random plants and trees and stuff like that. The key things about this era is that the focus is being grounded, connected, and intentional. It's also about slowing down and listening to my body and aligning my life with peace, wellness, and simplicity, and keeping up with things like morning rituals, nature, and journaling and learning. I didn't add that to it. So the moment that I realized that I was in alignment with my truth and in this era was, I would say, a couple of days ago when I was actually doing a nature walk through Forest Park. And that's one of the biggest parks in St. Louis that is very popular. And I walked through there with family, but this was my first time ever going by myself and just walking. Really didn't have no rhyme or reason. I just brought my journal and I decided to walk. And it was life-changing. Oh my God, the day was beautiful. The breeze was just right. Chef's kiss. It was amazing. And I did about an hour walk. And at the end of my walk, I went up and sat at the top of the hill that looked down at the big pond that they have in front of the art museum, folded my legs, and I started my process of meditating, taking deep breaths, and writing in my journal. But before that point, I actually came across this pond, and I've seen this pond many a times, right? But this time it felt different. It felt like it was calling me towards it to really just pay attention and to live in the stillness. And I can't really describe the feeling, but it was amazing. I knew that's where I needed to be. My energy, my emotions, my mind, it felt like I was in the right place. So after that, I went and I stayed another 30-45 minutes journaling, really just sitting on the grass. But that was my moment where I realized I was in alignment and I was on the right path. Needless to say, now that I've shared that with you, now we can lead into my 5 pillars of change. So some key things about the 5 pillars of change, that these pillars remind me that change happens through consistency, love, and awareness, not pressure. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes when we make changes, we try to force ourselves into those changes instead of being patient with ourselves, being focus driven, and also understanding that it takes time for change. So now that I shared with you a little bit of background and how I got to that point, now we're going to dive into what I view as my 5 pillars of change. And when I really reflected on what these pillars mean to me, they remind me that change happens through consistency, love, and awareness, not pressure. So you don't want to force yourself to make these changes. They really should come naturally. So when it comes to my 5 pillars of change, I looked at my home as a sanctuary, my body as a temple, my mind as a garden, my spirit as a compass, and my community as a circle. Let's start with pillar 1, home as a sanctuary. So my home reflects my inner world, and I'm working on things like urban homesteading and creating a safe space or a sacred space of peace for myself and my family. That includes me doing things like clearing clutter, resetting the energy, and finding and creating a safe place to recharge and reset. So it wasn't just about creating aesthetics, it was about healing, creating a space that I can be at peace, my family can be at peace, and it will help prepare us to deal with another day. Next, I have my body as a temple. So in this pillar, I'm focusing on nourishment, movement, and rest. And that means having extreme grace for my body, doing things like juicing, ingredient prepping, making healthier choices for me and my family. When it comes to movement, I could be doing weightlifting, yoga, or maybe even kickboxing. I don't know, but it's how I reset my energy because I really enjoy going to work out and just having fun. It's like a gym for adults. That's how I look at it. And then when I'm honoring rest is because stillness is just as powerful as action. So getting into things such as getting a nice sleep, going somewhere and relaxing, like I mentioned in Forest Park, meditating, so forth and so forth. That is really having grace for my body. In pillar 3, I'm looking at my mind as a garden, and by default, I'm a thinker and a lifelong learner, but I started realizing that my mind needs balance, not just constant stimulation. So in this pillar, I'm investing in learning, journaling for release, teaching to share knowledge, and giving myself space for creativity and reflection. And therapy, that's a non-negotiable part of tending to my mental garden. In pillar 4, I look at my spirit as a compass. So I'm not a religious person, but I am deeply spiritual. And for me, that means prayer, meditation, yoga, and other rituals that make my spirit feel good and feel grounded. So overall, I see my spirit as my compass. It's helped guiding me towards alignment and peace. And then finally, for pillar 5, I have the community as a circle. So I am an introvert by nature and ambivert by choice, but I know I need my people. So I'm focused on showing up more for my family, friends, and this includes really finding time to laugh, to connect, and to support. That's what fills my circle, because the people that I choose to be in my circle already does those things for me. So I want to make sure that I do the same, even better than before, for them. So next I want to share how I'm practicing, because one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that goals alone won't change your life, but systems will. So what I got from that is your goals help create the direction, but the systems help create the progress. And when you incorporate those into daily and weekly rhythms, that is what creates change. So instead of saying I want to declutter my whole house today, I can just create a system that I do it every day where I just spend 15 minutes on cleaning one portion of my house. And same thing with being more spiritual. Instead of me saying I want to be more spiritual, my system could be lighting a candle every morning as a grounding ritual, or meditating for 10 minutes, which I currently do. And I like these systems because they keep me moving forward. It helps takes the pressure off of perfection, and it lets me focus on progress. So some of the examples of small changes and simple systems that I incorporate now is journaling or meditating for 10 minutes before I go to bed, meditating in the morning. And one of the challenges I have for myself is to write a gratefulness check-in. And I do that mostly at night, but if I forget, I wake up first thing in the morning, and after my meditation, that's one of the things that I list is what I am grateful for. And then I also do a weekly family call. This is when I reach out to my family, just check on everybody as much as possible. I try not to stress on getting everybody within that week, but this week I have succeeded in hanging out with a good friend of mine, or with her computer, hanging out with my mom, spending time with my children individually and in a group. Also, my partner Ron, my loved one, my love bug, been spending time with him, and I've really been embracing it. And I still have more people that I would love to spend time with, but I'm taking it piece by piece because I'm also incorporating, still giving myself that rest and relaxation that I deserve, and not overextending myself. Overall, that has been my pillars of change. I hope after seeing this, you take the following things into consideration. That the reason I'm changing is for peace, and it's not something that can happen overnight. It is a gentle, lifelong process. I'm also being intentional by making small changes, because overall those small changes can equal to big impacts. Also, patience is required. That goes without saying. You want it overnight, it's not going to happen. If you want true change, you have to be patient so that you can embrace it. And finally, healing is holistic. It's not just about you improving your mind. You have to really work on yourself as a whole to really see the true benefits of change and positive or intentional action. So with that in mind, I wanted to end with a reflection quote with Queen Afua from Sacred Woman, where she says, "You have to plan and cultivate good health. You have to commit to good health because it comes from the inside and out. It comes from what you bring into your life. Positive, empowering thoughts, prayers and affirmations, uplifting company, and a high quality, life-giving foods." So that's what I'm working on. And this is something that I want you to think about too. If you were to build your own lifestyle change structure, what would your first pillar be? Let me know in the comments below. So there you have it, my 5 pillars of change. I hope this was very encouraging, hopefully enlightening to some of you. If you have not already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate your support. Hit the like button to support this video, and go ahead and leave a comment about your pillar of change and any other questions I asked. If you are or have been here, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for staying and still being a part of the family and bearing with me through this transition. I really, 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 really appreciate you. With that being said, you guys have a great day on purpose.